get started with the. Hey, Braden, how are you?
Nice to meet you. I'm doing great.
Likewise. I like your demeanor, man. I like it. Like what I say.
Thank you.
So what I want to do before we get started on the presentation today, actually, I want to get some interaction going on. Does anybody have any questions as far as what you're seeing? What's up, Mike Young? Does anybody have any questions? What you're seeing in your market right now as far as realtors asking for pre-approvals, pre-approval updates, getting offers submitted? Why don't we get involved real quick right now, so I can hear what you guys are experiencing, and then let's see if the presentation that I detailed will cover all that good stuff. So who wants to get started? What are you guys seeing in your market right now as far as pre-approvals and your clients' offers either getting accepted or not getting accepted?
Hey,
Anybody?
Jeff,
Mike Young, I'm
Yeah.
gonna call you out. What's up, brother?
Heck, why not? Why not? I'm always okay to jump on in.
Listen, every time I see you, you're always sitting with a new background in paradise. I don't know how that works, but that's awesome.
San Diego, baby, San Diego.
Love it.
What I'm seeing is I'm having a lot of conversations with realtors not understanding why we have to redo the pre-approvals and not understanding why their buying power gets a little bit less every time we do it.
You know what that
it's
does
just
for me, right? That tells me that we, as an industry on the lending side, need to do a better job of educating the consumers and the real estate agents on that topic, right? So
Yeah.
I would even recommend you guys taking this presentation and sending it to them, sending them the Zoom link. If you want to work with somebody, the best way to get them to work with you is by showing them that you know what the heck you're talking about and you're providing them with value and education, right? So take this presentation, send it to them, and understand, hey, maybe it'll cost you a cup of coffee or a donut or a bagel or a breakfast or a lunch or a dinner to get them to really know who Mike Young and who you guys are, but also understand that there's value behind what you're sending them.
Yep.
Anybody else want to hop in real quick? What are you guys seeing in your market? Anybody?
Well, I'll also say the amount of inventory out there is pretty sparse when it comes to that compared to the buyers. And
yeah,
the last loan that I got in the pipe was just, I think had a lot to do with me having a long conversation with the seller's agent and letting them know about the strength of the buyer, the strength of the offer, the strength of not only their credits, history, reserves, but I do think it had a lot to do with them getting accepted, because they actually got the offer accepted 25,000 under the top offer.
Mike, we are going to stop right there and get right into the presentation because I can't have you give any more of our secrets to this presentation away. So we are going to go ahead to get started, guys. So today's presentation is how to submit an offer properly. Learn what needs to be included in presenting your offer to position yourself to get highly considered in today's extremely competitive real estate market. Okay, this presentation is geared towards loan officers, mortgage people in particular. However, indirectly geared towards consumers, buyers, sellers, and real estate agents. So the first thing that I always tell everyone is, and again, in my market, in the New York City market, just so everyone's clear, I've been dealing with what everyone in the country is dealing with now since 2012. Brooklyn, New York was the first market where if you didn't put 20% down, if you didn't waive your appraisal contingency, you weren't getting a shot at getting your offer accepted on the majority of properties. So luckily I have a decade experience in dealing with this. So I think I've come up with some very good strategies and tactics to help everybody in today's current market environment. Let's just say I had 10 years of advanced training on it. So make the facts known. So what are the facts, right? A lot of people want a pre-approval but don't want to even let you run their credit, right? Or they'll provide you a free credit report. You need to take control. You need to have all the facts. So the first thing you always want to do, whether you're discussing it with the realtor or discussing it with the listing agent, obviously the realtor as in the buying agent, or if you're on the call with a seller, you also want to always confirm that your client's allowing you to share this personal information, right? Or you could even give a range, right? You can legally give a range. Can you legally tell someone's credit score? It's kind of a gray area. It is private information, but if they allow you to do that, and if they're serious about buying a house, they should want you to be transparent, right? Because that means that you know the facts. So, hey, Jennifer, my client, Mike Young, really wants to, buy your property. I've pre-approved him. I've gotten all his documents in. I'm going to be honest with you. His credit score is 687, but it doesn't matter because he's going to put 20% down and he qualifies for both conventional and FHA financing, right? So don't let the 687 credit score negatively impact your thought on how qualified he is. Look, here is your DU approved eligible, right? Here is his debt ratio. And just so you know, his credit score is 687 because he had a medical collection because the insurance company didn't pay this $50 payment, right? Like, get in detail. Explain what the credit score is, explain why the credit score is what it is, and be transparent. The more information you give, the more likely somebody's going to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. All right. Now, the proof proves. Now, what is proof? Hey, Jennifer's great. She has a great job. She's a first-time home buyer. She has some money in the bank. All right, that's all great. If you guys put yourself on mute, that'd be great as well. If you guys have proof, whatever you're saying, back it up with physical documentation. Hey, Jennifer's awesome. By the way, here's her 2021 W-2. Look, she makes $200,000 a year. She's been on her job for 5 years. Hey, Jennifer has 20% down. Hey, here's her bank statement. Look, she not only has $100,000 in her bank, she has $500,000 in her 401k, right? Hey, her credit score is 720. Hey, look, here's a copy of the credit report, the 3 bureaus, obviously block out the social security number and everything. Hey, look, 700, 687, 680, right? So whenever you're saying something, provide the documentation to back up what your words are so you could provide verification, and that way your word becomes verified. It's not just hearsay. Now, we got into this briefly, but provide all asset statements. I can't tell you how many people don't provide bank statements upon submitting an offer. And it's absolutely ridiculous to me, right? Like, if you have $1 million in the bank and you're buying a $500,000 property and you only want to put 10% down or 20% down because that's what you want to do, still show the $1 million, right? You want to show all of your asset statements. That way, if a seller sees, wow, this person's got $1 million, they're only buying my house for $500,000. Wow, they are very qualified, right? Optics is perception and reality. Now, we all know that whether you have $1 million or $40,000 and you're pre-approved, you're still pre-approved, right? But the seller doesn't know what you know. So you need to sit down with your real estate agents, your real estate partners, your buyers, and even potential sellers, right? When people are doing open houses, you as the mortgage professional should ask your listing agent, hey, can I talk to your seller about how financing actually works? So when you're actually sitting down reviewing all the offers, let me sit down in that room with you and let me help you weigh out your options. Even if I'm not the mortgage company that's doing the mortgage, let me help explain to you from a financing standpoint which offer has the biggest strength in this market, right? Now you're forming a relationship with that seller, and odds are that seller is going to be buying another property. So you're giving them free value, free information, free education. Hopefully they like you and they trust you, and they're like, you know what? Why don't you do my mortgage, right? Now, what's a better way of doing the seller's mortgage and doing the buyer of the seller's home's mortgage? You just got 2 mortgages for doing one piece of work, right? That's how you form relationships. It costs you nothing other than your time. So if you're able to do that, and you're able to review the bank statements, the W-2s, and the full qualifications of all of the offers that come in, you're putting yourself in a better position to not only get in front of more buyers, but form a relationship with your listing agent that helps them look more valuable. Don't play games, right? I can't stand this. And look, I didn't have much patience in 2010, and I definitely don't have much patience today in May of 2022. I had a client yesterday that wanted to put an offer in on a house, on a very competitively priced house listed on the market one day, and she wanted to offer 10% under ask price, right? Meanwhile, I told her this house is going to sell 5 to 10% over ask price, and odds are somebody's going to come in the next 24 hours and put an all cash offer in on this one family affordable home, right? Because that's just what the market is. And I told her, look, if you want to put an offer in at 450, I'm not giving you a pre-approval for that. We will not give you a pre-approval for that because you're not going to waste our time. And then what are we going to do? Go to 460 next and 470 next? Like, if you're serious in this market, you're going to trust the experts. And if you're not going to trust the experts, go find somebody that wants to play games, because this market isn't a time to play games, right? You need to know what your homes trade for in your marketplace and what gives your client the best likeliness of having their offer considered. And you, as the expert, need to take control of those conversations. There's no more, oh, I just want to offer $100,000 less than ask price. Okay, well, how did you come to that conclusion? Because comparables based on price per square footage actually value this house at, more than what the ask price is. So unless you know something I don't know, or unless you're coming in from an uneducated standpoint, you need to follow the education and lead to where the market shows you. Lowball offers are the best way to eliminate yourself from contention. Once a listing agent or a seller sees a disrespectful or an uneducated offer, even if you wind up coming up on your offer, they're going to consider you a joker, right? They're going to consider you a game player, and you're probably, even if you come in equally as high as the next offer, right? Let's say you both offer 525, but you once submitted, a $400,000 offer. They're probably going to go with the other offer because they don't like you because of what you tried to pull by them, right? And again, I'm not saying I agree with that or disagree with that. But again, if you're serious about buying something, you put in a competitive offer from day one. You don't put in an offer that can potentially insult the seller where they automatically write you off. My personal belief in this market is you make your highest and best offer first. This isn't a market where we're negotiating, right? It's a market where, hey, house is listed for $600,000. Do you want this house? Yes. Put in your highest and best offer. If it's $600,000, put $600,000 in. Hey, best and final offer. If it's $615,000, hey, highest and best offer is $615,000. Take it or leave it, right? Because what you don't want to get into is the removing of the logic from your offer and then going towards your emotions of your offer, which are bidding wars. Once you get into an emotional bidding war, before you know it, you're all the way up here. And now that $600,000 offer is $690,000 offer, you're overpaying, you're out of budget, you don't have enough money to cover the difference, and now you're in a game that you're probably going to lose, right? So make your highest and best offer. If it doesn't get accepted, move on, delay the home buying process. But don't get into that emotional battle and struggle, because that's the number one way to get burnt out and discouraged. Another thing that we've been doing lately, I've advised all my loan officers to consider submitting offers with multiple pre-approvals on different loan types. So we were actually successful in getting a client's offer accepted at ask price because we submitted both an FHA and a conventional loan approval. And we explained to the realtor, the clients can put 10% down. They qualify for a conventional loan, so one family, but because of their credit score being 642, they're not going to get the best interest rate in this market with that credit score. So here's simultaneously an FHA 3.5% down pre-approval. They're going to get a much better interest rate. They're going to save 6.5% of down payment out of pocket. They still qualify, and they're going to use that 6.5% for a rainy day fund so they don't maximize or exhaust their options. Now, if the house under appraises, understand we still have this $30,000+ buffer where they will pay the difference. But it takes that conversation and it takes that education and it takes that personal touch on your guys' end to sell that strength of concept to everybody involved, the buyer's agent, the listing agent, maybe even the attorneys, right? But you guys have to be sharp enough to put that together to show that that is in the client's best interest. In this particular situation, an FHA loan is 100% in the client's best financial interest, not exhausting all the resources to have a higher payment. I highly recommend, like Mike Young said earlier, lender and real estate agent on call with the listing agent and seller to verify, right? This is the least utilized concept. I don't know why. Pick up the phone. It's all public information. If you know your client is putting an offer in on a property, Google that property address or ask the buyer's agent for the listing agent's information. Text them, call them, email them, ask for a phone call, a one-on-one call, a group call, a Zoom call. Share your screen, pull up all the financials, and explain to them why you're the most qualified lender with the most qualified client to quickly close this deal for them as seamless as possible. One thing that I've realized in the past 90 days right now, okay, so in the past 90 days, I'm not talking about 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 30 years ago, people will pay a premium for a seamless experience. Let me reiterate that. People will pay a higher rate, a higher cost, a higher premium to have a better, streamlined, seamless experience. Don't get into a bidding war. We already went over this. I'll get into it again. That's my number one piece of advice for this entire call, for every consumer, for every first-time home buyer. Don't get into a bidding war. Submit your best offer, one shot, take it or leave it. Go back to this, as we said earlier. Logic wins, not emotions. Emotions are the number one way to lose in every aspect of life. If you stick to the logic, if you stick to being black and white, okay? If you stick to the facts of what price per square footage is, if you stick to the logic on why you're overpaying for a house, and I'll give the exact, let me tell you this real scenario, and this is logic. Very good friend of mine, a business partner of mine, one of my investors in our private real estate lending fund, played in the NFL. I consider him my brother, okay? Is buying a house, a second home in Connecticut. He overpays for the house, okay? Appraisal scheduled for May 4th. I get a text from the listing agent. Why is this appraisal date so far out? I'm like, it's April 29th. Like, we're not talking like June. We're talking like it was scheduled for 5 days. I don't know. I don't get involved in the appraisal process, right? The appraisal management company hires the appraiser. The appraiser reaches out to you, the listing agent. You confer with your seller. Like, you confirmed May 4th. Why are you getting me involved in this, right? I'm not the appraiser. So long story short, they say, well, we want the appraisal done May 1st. All right. AMC, we need to reassign a new appraiser. Okay, if you want it done 3 days before, we have to charge a rush appraisal fee. We'll have it back in 24 hours. My good friend pays $850 for a one-family appraisal. He's okay with that because he wants the deal done. The deal's in Connecticut. We get the appraisal back. The appraisal comes in $13,000 short, right? Listing agents up in arms, buyer agents up in arms. My friend, my brother, if you will, my client, whatever you want to call him, is like, yeah, I kind of expected it because, you know, comparables are all over the place. But by the way, this deal just closed yesterday. Now he's buying the house for $255 or something like that. This comp just closed for $280. I go, well, did you guys know this house was in contract? Yeah. I go, well, then why the hell did you get bullied into paying $850 for an appraisal, knowing this house was on the cusp of closing? So unfortunately, we can't order a new appraisal, right? Because the appraisal is real. If they would have just waited to the May 4th date, his house would have appraised at $280 opposed to $242. So because everyone wanted to rush the process and use emotion, oh, this isn't fast enough, we want to close quicker, they just cost my friend $13,000 out of pocket. And we all know that the house is now worth $280, so he's getting a very good deal on it, right? But because everyone couldn't just trust an appraisal to wait 3 to 5 days extra, which was still in a 1 week span, they had him pay an expedited fee, shortchanged him on the value, and they rushed the process based on emotion rather than taking logic into account of who cares if the appraisal is being done on April 29th, May 1st, or May 4th. Either way, we're getting it back in 24 hours, right? So that's just one example of, and shame on me, I didn't get bullied. I just said, hey, if you guys want to do it, like, I'm not going to, you know, buddy, if you want to pay the extra money, this is up to you. This is your purchase. I don't care one way or another. It doesn't impact me or my pocket, right? But it wound up creating more work for me. So again, understand that a lot of people in this business operate on emotion, and it's our job. You owe it to yourself more often than not to operate from logic and stick to the facts. All right. If you stick to the facts, more than not, shit won't go wrong. If you allow emotions to eventually wear you down and beat you up, and you forget logic, you're going to be doing double or triple the work and potentially even lose a deal. So that's today's presentation. I hope you guys pick some stuff up from it. I'm going to open this up now, to questions and answers like we always do. Does anybody have any questions or anything in regards to what we just discussed? Anybody? Nobody? Amide, what's going on down there? Everything good down in the Sunshine State?
Everything's good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for asking.
Oh,
How's the HELOC business going?
Um, just getting started, so,
All
you
right.
know,
Stay patient on that. With more fluctuations in rates, I'm telling you, HELOCs are 100% where it is. Yeah, again, I'll show you this right now. And it's funny, like I often sit back and reflect on like all the content I put out and all the stuff. And like, again, a lot, and I've said this to you, a lot of things that I say are often very new, right? Meaning you probably haven't heard it. When I first started talking about HELOCs, people were probably like, what are HELOCs? Why is he talking about this? Here's a fact, right? Let me just show you this. Pulling it up for you. So I don't know if you could see this text message, but kid called me up earlier asking about HELOCs and is like, bro, I just made $500 in 5 minutes. Client needed a HELOC. I said, tell your client you'll do all the paperwork, you structure the deal, charge him $500, have him Venmo or Zelle you or PayPal or Cash App or whatever the hell payment you want to take. He said, okay, the guy had no idea where to go get a HELOC. He was able to make $500 in 5 minutes. $500 in 5 minutes. And meanwhile, I think I did the HELOC video a month and a half ago. And still to this day, nobody is utilizing the advice on HELOCs, right? So I highly recommend you guys, again, going back to all the Zoom at noons and watching this stuff, see what I've said on past videos, because there is gold, there is money, there are earnings for you that will directly benefit you in your pocket by going back and watching those videos, right? So like even on today's call, I hope every single person rewatches this, but I hope you guys implement everything you learn on here, because what I'm telling you guys works. I don't care if you just signed up to become a mortgage person today, or you've been doing this for 25 years, stick to the plan. And like the other thing, like guys, results don't come overnight. Like it might take you, I think I was very good at what I did, especially early on in my career, because I had a lot of drive and I was naive. And that's kind of what fueled my success, was being naive and just going out there and just trying to meet people. It takes 6 to 18 months of consistent 24/7 work every day, 7 days a week. And my success rate was 6 to 18 months to extract new referral source. So if I met you today, I probably wasn't getting a deal from you for 6 months to 18 months. And like I said, I thought I was very good at what I did. And I think I'm still very good at what I do when I choose to be. But you guys got to be patient. And it was a different time when I got started, 2007, 2008, 2009. With today, I had to go back then, meet people face to face. Not everyone was on Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook. You guys can meet somebody, friend them on Facebook, friend them on Instagram, friend them on LinkedIn, post good shit every day. And that's the same thing as seeing them or meeting them every single day, right? So your guys' process should be streamlined to maybe 90 days, 120 days. Doesn't necessarily have to be 180 days. But I guarantee you, if you put out the right content and you put the right message out, you don't act desperate, and you take control, you'll be successful in this market. Because this market's only gonna get harder, it's only gonna get more competitive. But I promise you, if you don't give up, you guys will be exactly where you want to be. The other thing that I recommend, I'm gonna say this on every call moving forward, you need to go lean. Lean on rates, lean on fees, and lean on your personal expenses. It's okay to downsize. I'm telling everybody right now, you need to downsize now, because the amount of deals that are going to be had in the next 12 months are going to be very limited, very scarce. So cut your personal expenses, cut the dinners, cut the bullshit lavish lifestyle, if any of you lead that, because that's all going to go away, right? The number one thing that cripples people is debt and overspending. So focus on your guys' business, focus on the right relationships. And if anybody wants to go back to my Instagram profile or my story, which is just I'll put it in the notes. If you guys aren't following, go, because I post as much good shit as I can there. I just had a realtor text me yesterday. This is the truth. A very, very successful realtor text me and say, hey, I'm closing on this $1.5 million deal. And Zillow just charged the buyer's agent a $14,000 referral fee. Zillow just took half of the buyer's agent commission. And if you don't think that's coming in the mortgage game, you guys are lying to yourself. Zillow just made $14,000 for doing nothing and took half of a buyer's agent commission. So keep that in mind. Again, not here to scare you guys. I'm here to be real with you guys. I like knowing the truth, and I want you guys to know the truth. So I know we got to close up. We're going to go about 4 or 5 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask or concerns or need any advice? Anybody new want to introduce yourselves?
I think I'm Jennifer. I don't want to ask a question that's probably been asked in the previous noon.
I want you to go ahead.
So right at this point, like, I mean, I am still very new here, but whatever. We do a lot of refinancing, and I want to get out into, the buying and selling. But I'm running into a lot of issues where I'm sure this is relatable. They're all already partnered. They're wifed up, if you will, with their own lenders. Like, how does someone who's new and trying to get their name out there, how do you do that with realtors?
So I'm going to give you homework, and if you can, find out what the divorce rate is in America.
You mean like human to human
marriage? Yeah.
Okay.
Find out what the divorce rate is in America.
I think it's a lot, but okay.
And it's only going to be more applicable to the mortgage and real estate game, and here's why.
Okay.
Most mortgage people give real estate partners a financial incentive for sending them business, whether it's buying them leads, whether it's paying them a desk fee, whether it's paying them an illegal or legal kickback, profit share. I'm going to give news to everybody, and you're going to hear this first. The margins are not what they were. People got fat, people got lazy, people were giving away profit. And now that there is no profit, and most mortgage companies are running at break even or losses year to date, May 2022, they're not going to be able to maintain their financial commitments and promises, and they're going to burn more bridges. So you need to position yourself to be there as the honest, trustworthy person and be flat out, hey, I can't pay you a kickback, it's illegal. I could help build our business together. Maybe I'll take you out to dinner so we can get to know each other, right? Maybe I'll buy you a drink if we close a deal, but I'm going to give you and your client the best rate, the best service, and guarantee we close your deals. And if you stick to that script, the bullshit people, let them go to other bullshit people. The right people, the right business-minded people, the people that want to respect you will respect you and utilize you because of that.
Okay, cool.
No ifs, ands, or buts. It's a numbers game. You got to get in front of as many people as possible, stick to your script, have your confidence, focus on what your company and your personal strengths are. Hey, I'm available 24/7. Hey, my past career was in X, Y, and Z. I know 10,000 people, whatever the case is. The other positioning is, okay, get to the consumer first. If you get to the consumer first, they're going to be married to you. Hopefully that divorce rate doesn't kick in. And then you could pair them with a real estate agent that you want to do business with.
Okay. Okay,
Easy.
I see.
Cost nothing.
Yeah.
You're handing the realtor a buyer. Now, here's the other problem, right? Buyers right now are a dime a dozen. Like the fact that Zillow just ripped $14,000 for a buyer lead, there's 40 buyers to every homes for sale. So if you really want to make an impact, find people that are selling their homes and get the seller of a home to one of your listing agents or one of your realtor partners, give them a listing. Right now, a listing is worth 40 times what a buyer is.
Okay.
Everyone has buyers. Everyone's a buyer. Everyone wants to buy real estate. Not everyone's selling real estate.
Right.
So that's what I would focus on.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank you.
That's
You're
great
welcome.
advice. Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Keep going on that. Hey, Marie, is this your first time on here? Jigisha, Mary, hi, guys.
Hey, Jeff, I've got a question.
Hi, Nicole, what's up?
Long-time listener, first-time caller. So I have a buyer interested in a property that meets the Freddie Mac guidelines as a unique property. My underwriter is saying that they don't want to cover this loan because it has limited marketability. My concern is that there's very few properties listed right now. So any house for sale is going to be marketable, but it is a unique property. What approach can I take with the underwriters to have them take a second look at this property and take into account how few properties are listed right now?
Great question. So, so just to be clear, your underwriter, you're a mortgage person?
Correct.
Your underwriter at your company, are you a banker or a broker?
We do both. We are a lender on conventional, and then we broker non-QM and jumbo loans.
What state are you in?
Colorado.
Colorado. And what, okay, so how does this? So you're in Colorado, this product is going to be a banker loan. Are you guys Fannie and Freddie direct, or are you guys taking this loan and then selling it in the secondary market? Do you know?
We will sell it in the secondary market. We have both government loans that we sell to Ginny, and then our conventional loans we sell to Freddie and Fannie.
So from experience, now again, I never want to give anybody the wrong answer, right? And I never give an answer without like giving a little like verbiage of like, this might not be right, but based on my experience, here's what my thoughts are. One, underwriters usually always err towards the side of caution, right? So what I hear is basically your underwriter is either saying, I really don't want to do this, really isn't important, let me just brush it away, when you're like, no, this might be a deal, right? Or two, maybe your outlets in the secondary market are very limited because of the investors that are able to purchase that loan with that designation, right? So my personal belief would be, go back to your underwriter. One thing that I was always very good at was pushing the envelope. Like, I believe if you have a leg, you stand on it, right? Push back. Like, your job as a loan officer in this current instance is to fight for your client, fight for your deal, fight, and get the correct answer. What I would also potentially consider doing is you can call Freddie Mac directly. If there's a hotline you can call and give them the full rundown scenario and let them email you their language and their opinion, and then present that to your underwriter. Now, again, in all fairness, your underwriter should be doing this.
Right.
Just being fully transparent with you, right? Like, we're in the business to make business, right? The problem is a lot of people don't like working when something doesn't fit inside their immediate box. That's an issue. My other thought is, if you would like, and if you can, send me the address of the property, right? And then let me do some homework on my end and see what answer I get from my underwriting department, right? And then maybe you could use that as a resource and say like, hey, my competitor said this. Can you guys double check on this? Because if they could do it, why can't we do it, right? And now you're kind of just like playing your cards where it's not like you're the bad guy. It's like, hey, we're about to have something stolen from us. Now somebody would have a more incentive to like be able to get the deal done for you. My other thought is, maybe you do some other type of financing. Maybe it's an FHA 203K loan, right? Or maybe it's like a construction bridge loan or something more creative where, look, you need to be aligned with your operations. And a big problem that's always been is, when there's no deals, unfortunately, sometimes you get deals with hair on them, right? A little bit tougher deals. You need to be aligned with an operations or a bank or a mortgage company that's willing to help fight alongside of you, not just give you a dismissive answer, right? Nobody likes being dismissed, and nobody likes somebody that doesn't go the extra mile to try and help them out.
So to deflect a limited marketability concern, your most successful technique is to find someone else who's willing to fund this. Yeah. The other part I struggled with is that because it is unique property, appraisals will be difficult because there's no comps. It's in a community that doesn't have any homes that are built like this home. And I struggle with how we're going to approach the appraisal process because the market comps are not going to necessarily be appropriate. I know it's in high demand. We already have a buyer who's interested in this property. So I know it is marketable from a industry perspective. I just don't know how to convince underwriters of that fact from a guideline perspective or risk mitigation perspective.
So again, like, I've always tried to streamline the issue to the solution, right? Again, like back in the day,
Right.
I would try and think of like 10 different solutions and like, hey, you pick, right? What I've learned more than anything is like time is money. And the first thing that came to my mind, right, for you, and I don't know if you have a relationship with an appraisal management company or if you have a local appraiser, what I would recommend doing is getting the seller or the listing agent to pay for a private appraisal and get that
Okay.
private appraisal and then provide that private appraisal to your underwriter. Hey, look, I know we're not using this appraisal, but here's the private appraisal. What do you think about this? Because now you can't argue it's a federal appraisal. Yes, it's a private federal appraisal, right? But at least you'll have the proof is in the pudding of what you're working with here, rather than dealing with hypothetical and speculative insight and analysis, right?
Right.
Like if you want to know what the issue is, like order that x-ray, right? And in this case, that x-ray would be that appraisal.
Well, and I actually submitted that suggestion to the buyer's agent.
Correct.
I said, I know we haven't had a successful offer accepted. However, it may help with the underwriting process if we get an appraisal done
100%.
even before the bid is accepted. I just felt a little awkward asking them to put out $750 for something that they may not actually be able to be closed on.
So what I would do, again, like this is where like you have to like the parties involved. What I would say is you approach the listing agent and the seller, sit down with them directly as the professional, as the expert, suggest that they pay for the appraisal, they pay for the fact, right? Fact finding. And then when the buyer comes, if they buy the property, maybe they reimburse them for that cost.
Okay.
People are paying over ask price, right? So like,
Yeah.
it's like if someone gets into contract, they're going to pay for their own appraisal anyway. They're going to incur legal fees, most likely, maybe some title charges, right? Whatever other small little fees that they have to incur for going into contract. So them providing that up front hedges their risk of now laying out $1,000+ to start the mortgage process going into contract, right? And then potentially have a fall apart. So either way, there's risk here. My personal belief, and I know this is your first time live, I think, on here. So we launched our real estate technology company. We're almost 30 days in now. We're on our next leg of like development and features. But my personal belief in real estate, when a house gets listed for sale, a federal appraisal and a current title insurance policy showing all violations, liens, judgments, all that nonsense should be provided the day the listing goes live. That way a buyer can see what they're working with from a data factual standpoint and not get tied into a deal where there's an appraisal unknown, a title unknown, and now you waste time and money, right? So obviously people don't do that because of the costs associated, but with the technology we're building out, our platform, hopefully by Q3, third quarter of this year, we'll be able to have every listing that goes live on our platform, right, from real estate agents, have a preliminary title and preliminary appraisal valuation up front. So then that way there's no like guessing game that people have to unfortunately sign up for.
Right. And I think that makes sense. The challenge I have is this is a seller's market. So to go to the seller and say, hey, I'm going to ask you to jump through all these hoops, even though I know that there are going to be multiple offers on your home and it is in high demand, feels like a slippery slope to me.
And it is. And look, but it comes down to, so like, again, I respect people's time usually more than they respect their own time. That's sometimes, what I hate to say it, sometimes the most proper advice or the correct advice is usually the most stinging advice, right? But it's the right advice, right? Like I literally just I have a client that's been a friend of mine for 12 years now. She lives in the Bronx. Her son's 18. So he's a grown man, he's not in high school anymore. And she has like a 4-year-old. And I'm like, you need to move out of the Bronx because you owe it to your family to have a safe and peaceful quality of life, right? She's like, well, I don't want to uproot my 18-year-old. Meanwhile, the 18-year-old doesn't work, doesn't contribute to the bills, has her incur more expenses, and she's making the wrong, in my opinion, right? But I'm here to give you my expert opinion. You asked for it, I'm giving you my expert opinion. I told her flat out, you're allowing an 18-year-old that's contributing nothing to potentially ruin your future with your finances. Like if you don't sell this house now, you're going to keep paying credit card debt, right? Where you could sell this house, $250,000 profitable, tax-free, buy a one-family house and reduce your household expenses by $3,000 a month. But you don't want to do that because you're afraid your 18-year-old that doesn't pay any bills is going to be uprooted. You see where I'm coming from? And I have a 3.5-year-old. So again, you have to put it in the right way. But if no one can ever be mad at you for giving the right advice, that's just my opinion, right? So someone's going to run into the same scenario or situation or issue regardless. You are better off being the one giving the honest advice, right? And then saying, hey, if you want to do this, I'm your girl. If you want to go down another path, maybe you'll find somebody that'll give you a different answer, but I have to be honest with you, right? So look, even make me be the bad guy. Maybe even just show them, like, you clip this part of the video and say, hey, look, this guy said that here's what he recommends. He's crazy. I don't trust him, but I would recommend you considering this as an option, right? I just think that, again, like, people will respect the fact that you're being honest with them. I think at least.
Yeah. I think for me, I had never heard limited marketability as a justification for an underwriter pushing back on a property. And I hoped that the current marketplace would mitigate that limited marketability concern. But going back to the selling agent makes sense to me. And I will be sending you an email with photos. And
I hope so. Listen, I've only been to Colorado once.
We live in the mountains of Colorado, and it's a home that's built into the mountainside.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Has a grass roof, which we had to verify was not a berm home. And when we verified that 3 sides of the home were exposed, we thought that this would be appropriate under the Freddie and Fannie guidelines. But what do I know?
I could be wrong, but I believe, like, if you run it through Desktop Underwriter, right? If you run it through DU, again, I could be wrong, but I believe it will tell you, like, whether or not it's eligible or, like, falls into that certain demographic requirement.
Yeah. And when we did that, it did say it was eligible. It is not a berm home, and it is eligible as a unique property. That's the actual term that they use. But now the underwriters are saying, because of limited marketability, they're not going to fund the purchase.
I would ask them where they came up with that information from, and then I would even take it a step further. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know or agree. I don't know or agree how most mortgage companies operate, right? But I can tell you, again, from myself, like, what I would do, I would go and lock that interest rate in. I would lock that loan in, or ask whoever your secondary market department is, or however you lock a loan in, and say, hey, who are we selling this loan to? Let's just use Wells Fargo. Let's say you're going to lock the loan in, close the loan, and then eventually sell it to Wells Fargo. Hey, underwriter, I want you to call the Wells Fargo rep because we're selling this loan to them. I locked the loan in with them. I want to hear it from them that they won't purchase this loan. As long as you can sell the loan, your bank's going to close the deal. But again, it's like, and this is one of my biggest problems, right? Like, there are very few deals to be had right now. Every deal right now is 10 times more valuable than it was 6 months ago, right? Like, people should be trying to figure out how to do deals and give you like proof answers rather than just dismiss answers. And again, like, that's just an overall problem that's always been there with the industry. People are lazy and they don't want to work. You know, meanwhile, you're out there, you're in your car at noon, killing yourself on the road trying to get business. You know?
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the time that you invested on this question.
Oh, you're welcome, guys. If you need anything else, let me know. I'll just put my email right here in this chat as well, so you can see. Does anybody have any other questions, or do you have any other questions in regards to that? Anybody? Deepak, how are you, my friend? Everything good? Hey, Darlene. Oh, Darlene, you raised your hand. How the heck did you raise your hand? I think that's awesome. If everyone could raise their hand.
That was Darlene. But yeah, no, the Colorado question was very helpful too. I'm in California, so sometimes we come across similar type of situations. So that's some good information then.
Yeah, look, I think, like I said, I think these calls are so valuable because you might not run into this issue today, this problem today, but when you do run into an issue, hopefully you'll hear somebody else's question or problem, and hopefully you guys hear the answers that I provide that you could then just immediately know the solution or implement that, into your own business. So hopefully that you guys see the value in that. Darlene, I'm so sorry. You've been so patient. You're up.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear. How are you?
Good, good. I have this might be just a simple question. Let's say you got a loan and it's going through underwriting and there's issues with it, so you had to change the terms of it. Instead of, say, the borrower putting 20% down, they might need to do 10% down.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously these changes happen way after the offer got accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have seen other lenders do, they create like a really strong offer letter, even though that's not the borrower's intention. And then, because once the offer gets accepted and the borrower is going through the underwriting, that part is none of the seller's business.
At all. So like that's correct. So as long as the offer is accepted and you're in contract, right? And as long
Yeah.
as you provide the commitment by the commitment contingency date, right? And then as long as you show up to closing and you're ready to close at the same 100% of the purchase price, the seller can't tell you, we're not closing because this is a conventional deal or an FHA deal, or wait, you told us Darlene was putting down 20%, but now she's actually putting down 3.5%. As long as you show up to the closing and meet your deadlines and nothing changes, seller can't refuse that deal.
So how do you say this? So basically everybody can do this because there's nothing could stop, loan officers or brokers from just creating a really great offer. Like, even though, we just had one similar that we had to switch from like a conventional to an FHA.
Mm-hmm.
But, as we know, usually FHAs are not very favorable with buyers. So I guess my question is, why shouldn't we all
too
just
subjective?
like, why shouldn't we all just make these great offer letters? Like you said, you give them multiple offer letters. They got to put for, conventional, for FHA, for this, for that. Even though they might not be approved for that.
Sure.
At least that, the high percentage.
Sure.
So there's nothing there to stop them. So we can just really create really great offer letters. And then after the offer is being accepted.
Yeah, 100%. And again, so like, look, it's like, I hate saying,
and that's not illegal, right?
It's not. No, it's. I mean, it's not illegal at all, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to like get down to the nuts and bolts of it, like you only have a fiduciary responsibility to your client, right? Not to the realtor, not to the seller, not to the seller's attorney, not to the buyer's attorney. Your client, the person that's applying through a mortgage or getting a pre-approval through you have only their best interest in mind, right? And obviously you have to protect your company as well, right? I hate to say it, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get an offer accepted, right? So like if you have to show, hey, my client is buying this property, they're putting 25% down, here's a conventional pre-approval for 75% financing, but, right, you go into contract and now they want to do FHA 3.5% down, there's nothing that can legally jam you up. I mean, it is what it is. The buyer chose a different financing route. And as long as you're able to deliver, a mortgage approval at the same price, it doesn't matter how you get to that closing, whether it's FHA, VA, conventional, all cash, private money from your mother, father, closing date with that same price. Yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah, because what I've seen is where the DTI gets too high once we run everything.
Yeah.
After the offer has been accepted, and then we would have to pay down some of their debt to lower their DTI to get them, properly approved to go through. So sometimes the client needs to use some of that funds to pay down their debt at closing, so it's not as a high down payment on it. So
I heard a statistic, and I could be wrong. And this is one of those like, don't quote me on this, but this is what I've been told, and this is what I've heard. I've heard with interest rates rising from December to now, so let's call it in the past 6 months, I've heard that 50% of people that were once pre-approved or qualified are no longer pre-approved or qualified for that same amount.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I actually put an offer on a house back in September for around $500,000. And now the way the interest rate is, and we have like over 800 credit score, it's perfect. I think our budget to stay at the same payment that we want it to be at,
Yeah.
we would have to drop under 400, which is insane. And I'm in Michigan and there's nothing here.
Yeah,
that
good luck
price.
finding a quality, sizable
Or
house for that
anywhere.
price point. Anyway, yeah, they might
Yeah.
have to go to like maybe somewhere in Alabama where your neighbor's an animal, you know, what I mean? Like
Right.
literally a cow or something, you know.
Hey, I
But
would
yeah,
take
that's
that.
that's a real thing. That's a real problem nationwide, you know. And I tell everyone that's why, like, look, as bad as it is optically that interest rates are rising, it made the buyer market a little bit less competitive, more competitive, less competitive from a quantity standpoint. So maybe if there
Yeah.
were 40 buyers for every listing, now there's 20 buyers, you know, a buyer just improved their odds almost by double of getting their offer accepted, right?
Yeah.
So again, there's pros and cons, you know, every which way possible. I think the key to, you know, success moving forward is just staying on your toes and making sure you realize like every single deal is that much more valuable right now. You shouldn't be focused on closing a lot of deals. You should be focused on closing quality deals right now and dealing with quality people.
Absolutely. Okay, sounds good. Thank
That's
you.
it. You're welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't like anything illegal about that or
Nope, not
know.
at all, not at all. And again, like, look, I'm a big, full, transparent, and disclosure kind of guy. So like, I like keeping everybody in the loop, but I also like explaining the strategy or education behind it as well. So if I am switching a client from conventional to FHA, or if I have to because of something outside of my control, I just tell everybody, hey guys, here's what happened. Here's what it is. Don't be alarmed. Don't worry. It doesn't change anything. I'm just giving you a courtesy heads up. Here's what's going on.
Okay,
And that's how
got it.
that's how you maintain your reputation as well. And also, again, people respect honesty. No one likes surprises.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you
Sound
so
good?
much for your time.
You're welcome, Darlene, always. Anybody else have a question before we wrap up today?
Oh, yeah, Jeff, I just want to say one thing. What I've done for some of my clients, I kind of pre-approve them at different price levels. You know, dealing with multiple offers, right? If they want to get into bidding war, I give them a minimum and a maximum that they can offer on a house, so that the way, if they get into that situation, they have something to work with. They have to told me every time, so I can't get a pre-approval for this, but I pre-approve them at different price levels for in-house.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree with that. I think, you know, what I would say is like, you want to respect your time, right? So if people are constantly asking you for, you know, hey, raise this pre-approval by 5,000, raise this pre-approval by 10,000, you know, before they even get an offer accepted, you've issued, you know, 45 different pre-approvals. Is that really the best use of your time? You know, not really, right? So just be mindful of that. You know, again, like I said, I usually respect people's time more than they respect their own time. You know, don't get pulled into that dog and pony show. You know, say, hey, look, you know, you're buying a house between 400 and 500,000. I'll give you 4 pre-approvals for different increments of $25,000. You know, use whichever one you feel like to make an offer on. You know, if you want to change it once or twice and do one for, you know, 440, okay. But, you know, people will run you ragged if you let them, you know. So if you provide the right information and education and give them the guidance, like, hey, you're better off putting an offer in at 440, but showing a 450 pre-approval to show someone you're more qualified than what the offer you're making is. Like, that would be my strategy. I hate doing busy work. I hate doing admin work. And like I said, you know, the time adds up, you know, issuing 20 different pre-approvals, you know, probably over the course of a couple months without having any true light at the end of the tunnel. All that is a loss on paper for you. Anybody else have any questions or anything? No, nobody? All right, guys, I hope you guys all enjoyed the phone call today. Darlene, I love the raising the hand feature. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that on my own one day. But I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you guys go back and watch the prior Zoom at Noons. If anybody has any questions or has any ideas for the next upcoming week's topics or any problems or issues you run into, please always reach out. Otherwise, you guys have a great day, great week. Go get some loans in and go make some money.